I'm going to introduce our next speaker, Pascal Cheval. Pascal is from France. Okay, I know I butchered that. I'm not even going to try and do the French pronunciation. Pascal has been around in the Mozilla project since the Netscape days, as I have. So do you remember that old dinosaur logo of Mozilla? That's Pascal and I. We're the dinosaurs. And he's, before he worked in tech, little known fact, Pascal was a furniture salesman, so take that as you can. Okay, so I think he's ready to go. If you click the thumbnail there, you should be, yeah. And then if you Command-Shift-F. Okay, I'll let you talk, I'll do that. It's so sad to do it on the Mac. Yeah. Keep this one.
Is there not a full screen menu under view? View. The view menu has a full screen item.
Yeah. So that's the great full screen mode in Firefox Mac. That's why I don't use it. Okay, nice to see you. My name is Pascal, as I told you. I've been in the project forever. And I'm working for the release management team on the Nightly Reboot project. So first, maybe a question. How many people use Firefox Nightly in the room, just that I know? Okay, so that's a third. So I hope that at the end of the talk, like the 2/3 that don't use Nightly, we'll try it. So what's Nightly? For those people that don't have it, that's Firefox with the code that was just checked in. So that was the code from yesterday and often the code from the morning. That's the 6 weeks of our train model. We release every 6 weeks a new version of Firefox. First it goes through the Nightly stage, and then Aurora, and then beta, and then release. So that's not final work. That's work in progress. There are bugs, it's expected, and that's why we need you. Many experimental features. So the thing that is not so nice is like its speed test more crashy. It's not as stable. But the nice thing is that you get to experiment all of the new features in Firefox weeks, months, and sometimes even a couple of years before. Because some features take a very long time to get in the final release, like multiprocess, for example. So it's awesome. Use it. Why do we need the Firefox Nightly users? So basically, this is a community talk. We need Firefox Nightly users because we need your feedback. We need to know what's broken. We need to know what was working and is no longer working. We need to know which websites are no longer working with Firefox before it reaches the big audience, the hundreds of millions of people. We don't have many Nightly users, and if we had a lot more Nightly users, that would definitely help us. That would help us prioritize work on crashes. That would help us find regressions. That would help us having a better support for macOS and Linux, because we have so few users on these early pre-release channels on smaller platforms that it's hard to find to detect all the bugs before they hit release. So one other reason is very important this year is that we have Quantum. You might have heard about it, but we are merging some features from Servo into Gecko. Servo was our experimental rendering engine. It's great. It allows using multiple cores to process CSS. It allows using the GPU. It's much more modern, but it's not for the end user. But there are some parts that are really cool, and we want them in Firefox. So currently we are merging this code. Yesterday, the Servo repository was put into the Gecko repository as a vendor branch. That means that by the end of the year, you will have a brand new Firefox with a new engine. That means we're going to break a lot of stuff. So we will need a lot of feedback, a lot of what was working. My website is no longer working. The CSS is broken. This is bad, this is a regression, this is faster, this is not faster. So this is also why we need more Nightly users, because all of this work is going to happen on Nightly. So for many months, nobody will know about what the quantum is like in real life, except Nightly users, or people that compile it. And one very important thing is that I think that Nightly is a great vehicle to get our technical community involved. Like, we have a lot of people involved in Mozilla, but I think we didn't get such a great job involving the technical community that we have. There are tens of thousands of people that use Nightly. We don't have tens of thousands of people that report bugs on a daily basis, that write patches, that talk with the developers, and that bring us their ideas. So there is something that has to be fixed there, and I really hope that we can grow the size of this community, get the people already using Nightly more involved, and the people not using Nightly involved in Mozilla. So who are they? So usually when I talk to my colleague, they tell me, yeah, that's Linux crowd and the people that go to FOSDEM. And that's not true. Most of our users are on Windows. So we have a bit more Linux users than Mac, yeah. But that's not the majority of the people. The majority of the people that use Nightly, they're on Windows. There is a difference with the release channel. Like, we also have a majority of people on Windows, except that we have a lot of Windows XP on the release channel and a lot of Windows 10 on the Nightly channel. So, of course, these people are not totally representative of what we have on the release channel, but it's not that far. Who are they? Where are they? What language do they speak? So it's interesting that we have Firefox users all around the world. We don't have Firefox Nightly users all around the world. It's only a few countries. 15 countries do like 70% of our user base, and that's mostly the US, Canada, Western Europe, Russia. Russia is a big one, and Japan. So that's not great. There's a lot of people that could give us feedback, that could tell us if their bank is broken in Cambodia, and we don't know about it. We know about it when they file bugs, when they see it on the release channel, so that's not great. The other interesting thing is that most of the Nightly users use the English version. It's not because we are all great at English. Look, you can hear me, so I'm not great at English. It's just that for years it was impossible to find the localized versions. People thought they didn't exist, but actually they were there on the FTP. So almost all of our users use the English version, except the Russians, because they had set up their own download website, because we were not doing it at Mozilla. So that's not great either, because we also need feedback on the quality of the localization. We need people to use something that the end user in their country is going to use, and most of the people, they are not going to use the English version. So if there is some text that goes outside of the box that is unreadable, or that just doesn't make sense, we don't know, because people use the English version. So that's the map of where our Nightly users are. Nobody in Africa, basically. So South America is not great either. Like, we have really a lot of people in Brazil, and that doesn't look great on the map. So that's really something to fix. Like, it's not just countries that have lower internet penetration, people don't have access to computers. No, we have very low numbers, very low Nightly numbers in countries where there is a general education, there is good internet access, and we have lots of Firefox users. So we missed something. There is something that it doesn't feel right. So 8 months ago, I started the Nightly reboot status as part of the release management team, and to see what could we do? What could we do to get like more Nightly users? What could we do to get them like more involved, to get more information on crashes? To give you an idea, we have so few crashes on the Nightly channel that we don't know if a crash is going to become explosive on the release channel or not. So when we have to prioritize work between two crashes, we don't have the volume to tell us, oh, that looks like it's going to be a lot of crashes on the release channel, or maybe it's going to be 15 crashes on the release channel because some guy is using Firefox on a Power PC on a RISC-OS platform, and that's nobody. We don't have the volume to make the informed decision to prioritize the work for developers. So, as I told you, that was not a big focus of Mozilla. Like, I think we always took for granted that we had a Nightly community that was providing feedback, and we didn't see the gem that was in this community. So there was a lot of things to improve. So we did a lot of things in the last 8 months. Yep. First, we have download pages. That's amazing. You can download Nightly. Believe me, it was complicated. For a very long time, the localized version were only on the FTP. So people thought they didn't exist. And there was a separate download site that had been set up in 2011 by the web dev team, and nobody was really updating it. Like all templates, it was not localized, we had no metrics. It wasn't great, and it was not part of our main download site. So people really had to Google it. They had to find it, and of course there was no SEO optimization, so it was actually even hard to find if you were looking for it. So now we have all of our builds are on Mozilla.org. So that means we changed some infrastructure that we use to ship Firefox to have Nightly like has a real channel. There is information in our tools that tell us like the Nightly version is this one, and we have this local, this local, this local. So that was a lot of work, and that pays. Like 15 days after we put it up on Mozilla.org, we had like 15 languages that had translated the download page. So now Nightly is also on the pre-release page. We have a pre-release page that talks about the dev edition, beta. It wasn't talking about Nightly. And Nightly is so. I mean, it's our main pre-release channel, the one that gives us the best feedback, because when people report a bug for a regression that happened like yesterday or 3 days ago, it's very easy to back it up, to back it out. If it's like 6 weeks, 12 weeks, 18 weeks later, can be like more tricky, like just finding the regression range, and sometimes mechanically you cannot back it out because the code has changed too much around. So it's very important for us to get this feedback very early, and it's great that we have download pages. We changed the default bookmarks. Like the default bookmarks for Nightly were the same as the release channel, so they were telling you, do you know what Mozilla is? Or are you looking for add-ons? I think the people that went to the FTP site to download Nightly, they can find add-ons. And that was really the same bookmarks for the general public, for everybody. They make sense for the general public. They don't make sense for people that are very technical savvy. So now there are links that lead to contribution. They go to our IOC channel. We created an IOC channel for Nightly. We opened the blog. So go to a blog, visit Planet Mozilla, get involved. Like we have the same get involved link, but instead of going to like a general purpose, get involved in Mozilla, spread stickers and so on, which is useful. It's more like, write patches, file bugs. That's super useful. That helps us. That's we don't want to change the people that use Nightly. The people that use Nightly, they are tech savvy. That's great for us. Doesn't mean that they're computer scientists, but that means that when they open a bug, it's actionable. We can do something about it. We can have a conversation with the developer that is going to fix the bug, and the people, they understand each other. It's not just like, it's broken. So that's, it's very important for us. We have a blog, I mentioned it. we have 90 users, and the problem with 90 is that it's not a release, or actually it's a release every day, so you don't get like release notes. And even though 90 users, they didn't know what was new, because if some new feature is in a menu, or if it's a contextual menu, or if it's not like obvious, or if it's an option, you probably are going to miss it and think like nothing is happening if it's not like user-facing. But there's a lot of cool stuff that is happening that is not user-facing. So we opened a blog last summer, and we are inviting everybody to write to this blog. Like, that means volunteers as well, that not just Mozilla employees. Like, if somebody is organizing an event to promote Nightly in Vietnam, that would be great to have a post about it. Like, there was a guy who wrote an article on how to install Firefox Nightly and get it integrated with Ubuntu Unity. That's a great article. And you get developers that tell us, like, I'm working on this feature, it landed yesterday, give us feedback, or you have developers that make a recap, this week in Firefox, this landed, there's this new feature, this was fixed, and so on. So that's external communication. So because we have to fix all of the communication around Nightly, external and internal. The Twitter account is super active now. We have just reached 10,000 followers. People, 8 months ago when I took over the Twitter accounts, they were like sending angry messages. My Firefox is not working. What are you doing? And so on. And now they really interact. Like, they tell us, oh, I think this is broken because of this bug. Can you look at this because I think it was working before and not now? So it's a very positive interaction now and very useful. So that's external communication. But we have set up great internal communication in Firefox. We have this page about home with snippets, promotional snippets at the bottom, and we never used it for Nightly. Of course, we're not going to tell people like go to MozFest there. Maybe they're not the right road. But if I tell them we have this problem on the Mac, and you appear to have the same configuration, and could you have a look at this bug? Or if I tell them like here, we have a new menu in Firefox Nightly to report a broken site. Like, learn about it in this article. That brings value to the user. He discovers new features. That also brings so that improves retention. Like, people know that there is something cool, they discover it, and they keep using Nightly. That also helps, like, growing the community. In the French version of Firefox, so this is on the English version. This is on the Spanish one. So on this one, you see that's a link to an article about quantum that the Spanish community, Mozilla Hispano, has translated. And this is the French one, which is talking about an event that is going to happen in Mozilla Paris office in April for localizers. So we can promote events. Like, you can imagine that somebody that is using Firefox Nightly in French or in Russian instead of English, there's probably something that is very interested in Mozilla, and they are also interested in their own language, otherwise they would be using the English version. So maybe they could join your localization team. Maybe they would be interested. So that there is a way to interact with our users and not just with our potential users. And the What's New page. So since nobody was really taking care of Nightly, the What's New page had been deactivated. That's the page that appears every time you change of cycle. Like when you go from Firefox Nightly 53 to 54, the day it changes, like the day your version number changes, you have this page that gets displayed. That's a very easy thing to set up, and now we have established a communication channel with our users. We're not like spamming them every day with a What's New page. No, it's just like every 6 to 8 weeks, they get a message like a nice reminder. You can get involved in Mozilla. Here you can find more information, but more like targeted at more technical people, like going to site like what can I do for Mozilla? So I'm a C++ person, I could do that. I'm a Java person, I could do that, etc. Instead of getting people involved in things we are already good at. Like we are good at organizing events everywhere in the world that are for the general public. we don't need the help of Nightly users for that. So that's the things that we did in the last months was fixing the download process problem, fixing external communication, but also fixing internal communication. So this is the most important for you, for the 2/3 of the room that don't use Nightly. So what could you do to help? Promote Nightly. I'm promoting it in French, I'm promoting it in English, I'm trying to promote it in Spanish, and that's the extent of my languages. So if you speak another languages than I do, than the 3 I have mentioned, please promote Nightly. We have a blog, maybe you can translate the interesting blog articles. We have events, maybe you could organize events in your region focused on testing, bug triaging, attracting like a more technical crowd, people that will be able to find a regression range and say that this patch caused this bug. That would be really cool. Like make some buzz around it. Do you have a patch in Nightly? So that's mostly for the people that are already involved in Mozilla, like employees, but also volunteers that have patches in Nightly. Talk about it on the Mozilla blog. Like if you do something interesting related to Nightly, I will be very happy to promote your work, to promote it through the tools that we have, the external ones that I mentioned, the blog and Twitter, but also the internal ones. Like we can put it on About Home, which is viewed by a lot of users. We can put it on What's New page for your language. We don't have to have the same What's New page per language. We can have different information. Whoops, sorry. That was the last slide. Yeah. And then use Nightly as your main browser. If you use it on the side, it's great. That's cool. Nightly has telemetry activated by default that sends useful information to developers, send your crashes. But if you can, please use it as your main browser, not your secondary browser. Try to connect to your bank. Try to use all of your websites. And tell us if it's broken. If a website is broken, like a banking site, it's very important to know. Triage bugs. That's also a very important thing to do. We get an influx of like lots of bugs every day, and there are not enough employees to triage all the bugs that go to bugzilla.mozilla.org. And then help people not comfortable with English reporting bugs. That's what the French and Japanese communities do. People find bugs, but they are not comfortable finding bugs in English. Yeah, and my time is up, I think. So help them. I forgot to say that I'm very talkative. No. Wait a minute. Okay, that's the last slide. So the grand idea is to improve the quality from the start, like improve the quality of Firefox. If we can improve the quality of Firefox significantly, maybe we could do that. Like only Nightly beta release and ship faster and better software. So that's the idea. Yes, Jeff.
Firstly, why would we really want to do that? What difference does 8 weeks make, given that we used to ship every year and a half, and we thought, we want to ship faster, and we are shipping faster, but nah. And secondly, have we looked at automated browsing? Because it seems like you're saying, hey everybody, run a browser that crashes more, because then you can tell us all about the crashes when you lose all of your work. And it's like, that doesn't, it's hard to make that an attractive sell. If we had a whole bunch of machines that were just surfing the web and they were also producing crashes, you could say, well, we want some help with that. But if the machines aren't doing it and you're asking us to do it, that seems a little...
So several questions. So why are we doing it? The Aurora cycle is useful, but it's not giving us the feedback that it should. We don't have a lot of people on this channel, and most of the people that are on this channel used to be Nightly users. So basically, we get the bug reports, but 6 to 8 weeks later. So that's not great. Also, it's promoted as a web dev tool now, and we get a lot of reports for the DevTools, but not for the rest of Firefox. So it's still useful. It's a stabilization step, but it's not as useful as we hoped it would be. So it's not that great. The second thing is that we have a lot of people that want to ship faster internally in Mozilla. And it's true that some things like changing the size of a button in the UI, it could ship faster. So currently what we do is that we uplift a lot of things to Aurora. So that's work for the release management team to uplift lots and lots and lots of patches to Aurora and Beta to go faster. But basically, it could ship. This could ship faster. So that was why this channel is not that interesting. If we improve the quality on Nightly, we don't really need the Aurora channel. The other thing is that we don't have a lot of people on Nightly, and since a lot moved to the Aurora channel, we don't catch the crashes on Nightly. That means that Aurora is not stable. It's not as stable as you think you are. It is. It's because we didn't catch the crashes that we used to catch before. So if we grow the community on the Nightly channel, we don't catch them on the on Aurora. So it's faster. Then you talked about automation. A lot of the crashes that we have, they are specific to the configuration of the people. Graphic cards, antivirus, add-ons, tons of things. Like the matrix is gigantic. So everything that we know, we test automatically. But what we don't know, we cannot have tests for. And that's what we are looking for. And now we have just landed the electrolysis. And electrolysis multi-processes is on Nightly now. And we have Quantum coming. That's a lot of groundwork, like important changes, like hundreds of thousands of lines of code that are going to land. And we will need this feedback very, very, very early. Does it answer your question? Cool.
Thank you, Pascal.
I will be available most of the time at the booth, at the Mozilla booth in Building K, so don't hesitate to talk with me in French, Spanish, English.
Pascal, it's still working now.
Can you use your own laptop? Yeah.
I can't use the mic. No. Yeah, that's good. That's the thing. I mean, that's the other one. Da jo mám časopis ekran.
Your talk is like not.
Yeah, I can't use it. Because I'm using the laptop and I don't have an extra hand.
We'll have to try the other one again.
Yeah.
Now we get our real
It's going to be crowded.
Yeah.
Hey, Brian, you might want to ask people to move.
Yeah, I always do.
We need
I
to,
always do, yeah.
Can that be on the... Excuse me.
Yeah. Pardon?
From 12 to 1 o'clock.
Okay. Talk to Francisco then.
Just stop him from coming in for free.
Alex wants to use that one.
Yeah.
So did you fix this?
Well, it wasn't broken, it was just like because a nectar.
Hello?
Yeah, I'm going to do the intro on this and then I'll turn it off.
This is the lock button, but it automatically locks after like 10 seconds. So you have to push this, scroll down, and push again. And then you can keep it fresh and turn it off.
My fault that I did not close the
You didn't know? So push, scroll, push, and then turn it off.
I saw the lock and I put it there. I was like, maybe it's okay.
Everybody squeeze into the middle, especially on that side.
Could you tell them to be aware of the camera?
Yeah. To do what? The camera?
Okay, we're running a tight ship here, so we're going to get started. We're already 5 minutes over. Couple of quick things. Please use all the empty seats that you can in the middle. Squeeze in, make room at the edges. We're going to have more people coming in just to cause as little disruption as possible. Plenty of room at the back. Don't stand in the aisles if possible. If you're new to the room, we have a room code of conduct. Check it out, bit.ly, MOSDEM/MOSDEM-COC. As I said, it's unique to this room, separate from the FOSDEM code of conduct, so have a quick look when you can, please. I'm going to introduce our next speaker, Alex Lakatos. His friends call him Laka. But for some reason he's not fond of that. He's a JavaScript developer by day and a Mozillian by night. He wears many hats. He's a Reps Council member and he's a tech speaker. And little known fact, in his misguided youth, he got a casino dealer license. So over to you, Alex. Take it away.
Thank you. Hi, guys. I'm going to use absolutely no slides, and I'm going to take a seat because I'm not as young as I like to think. I want to talk today about Firefox DevTools and some tips and tricks I use in my daily life and sometimes in my nightly life to develop websites. So, how many of you in the room are web developers? Yes. Okay, good. So most of you. I'm gonna, if you have any questions, I'm gonna be outside after this. I'm gonna try to make it on time, though. So let's get started. How would you open developer tools? This is just a small little demo page I'm using. I'm shamelessly plugging my blog here, even though it has only one article. So how would you open the developer tools? Most people go right-click, and then there's inspect element in here somewhere. But that opens up like just the inspector on the element you clicked. There's another way you can go to Tools Web Developer, and then pick your tool from there. Let's start with Web Console. Good. So I'm starting with Web Console just because this was the first and I always go there, but I want to show you Inspector first. The whole idea behind it is my blog is buggy and I kind of want to fix my button here. If I want to do that, I have to select my button. I'm not really sure which one is my button. There's more elements. But I have this little search field here that helps me out with CSS selectors. And I'm using Material, so I know this is going to be an MDL button. Now, if I try to search for it, it's going to show me my page has like 4 different buttons on it. So I'm going to cycle through them until I get the one I want. Okay, so now I have my button. Come on, screen size. No luck. Good. So I can see my CSS, the CSS for my button right here. It's not the color I want it to be, so I'm going to try to look in here for colors, basically. Now, there's a lot of CSS, right? So I really don't know which one of them is the one I'm looking for, but trying to find the instance of color is going to take me some time. But I have this filter input here, and I can just say highlight